The first rule of space diplomacy: never call a 7-foot-tall alien warrior cute, especially when her entire species takes it as a marriage proposal. I learned that the hard way. One moment, I was staring at Vera, her razor-sharp claws and 4 silver eyes gleaming under the ship's harsh lights. The next, my stupid mouth betrayed me. You're kinda cute for an alien," I blurted. The docking bay fell dead silent. Her armored ridges flushed crimson. Behind her, her squad's tails went rigid. And then she slammed me against the hull hard enough to rattle my teeth. Turns out, cute wasn't just an insult, it was a death sentence. And unless I figured out how to undo this cosmic misunderstanding, I was either getting married or spaced. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now. Hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The morning sun crept through the dusty windows of the Black Hound Tavern, casting long shadows across the worn wooden floor. A low hum of chatter filled the air, punctuated by the occasional clink of tankards and the crackle of the hearth. In the corner, a grizzled old man leaned back in his chair, his boots propped up on the table as he surveyed the room with a lazy grin. "Another round, Eli?" called a burly man with a scar running down his cheek. "And make it quick this time. Your ale's slower than a snail in molasses." The bartender, a wiry fellow with a permanent scowl, shot him a glare. "Keep yappin', Jorik, and I'll water yours down extra special." A ripple of laughter spread through the room, but it was cut short as the door swung open with a creak. All eyes turned to the stranger standing in the doorway, his cloak damp from the drizzle outside. He pushed back his hood, revealing sharp green eyes and a face that had seen too much for someone so young. Well, Jorik drawled, raising an eyebrow. "Look what the cat dragged in. Ain't you a sight for sore eyes, Kale?" The stranger, Kale, ignored the remark and strode to the bar, dropping a silver coin on the counter. "Whiskey, and keep it coming." Eli studied him for a moment before sliding a glass across. "You're back early. Job go sour." Kale knocked back the drink in one go, wincing as it burned his throat. "You could say that." From the shadows near the fireplace, a woman with fiery red hair leaned forward, her voice dripping with amusement. "Let me guess. You bit off more than you could chew again?" Kale shot her a look. "Nice to see you too, Lyra. Missed your cheerful disposition." She smirked, twirling a dagger between her fingers. "Oh, don't flatter yourself. I just like watching you squirm." Jorik let out a booming laugh. "She's got you there, boy." Kale sighed, rubbing his temples. "I don't need this right now." Eli refilled his glass, lowering his voice. "Out with it. What happened?" Kale hesitated, then leaned in. The artifact wasn't where it was supposed to be. The whole job was a setup. Barely made it out alive. Lyra's smirk faded. "Who set you up?" "Don't know," Kale admitted, but they knew exactly what they were doing. Left a little calling card. He reached into his pocket and tossed a small, twisted sigil onto the counter. The room fell silent as the others stared at it. Eli's face paled. "That's the mark of the shadow hand," Lyra finished, her voice tight. "Which means you've got more trouble coming." Kale downed his second drink. "Tell me something I don't know." Jorik slammed his fist on the table. "Well, ain't this just perfect? You dragged that cursed thing in here, and now we're all targets." Before Kale could retort, the door burst open again. This time, 3 armored figures stepped inside, their faces hidden behind dark helms. The tavern's patrons froze. The lead figure pointed a gloved hand straight at Kale. "Him. Take him alive. Kill the rest." Lyra rolled her eyes. "You just had to jinx it, Jorik." Kale's hand went to the hilt of his sword as he flashed a grim smile. "Guess we're doing this the hard way." The room erupted into chaos. Chapter 2. Her name was Vera. That was the only thing I managed to catch before she crossed the distance between us in one terrifying stride and lifted me off the ground by my collar. My back slammed against the ship's hull with a metallic thud that echoed through the docking bay. The impact knocked the air from my lungs, and for a second, all I could see were those 4 silver eyes burning into mine. Her razor-sharp claws pricking the skin of my throat just enough to remind me how easily she could end me. "You dare," she hissed, her voice low and dangerous, like the hum of a plasma blade before it strikes. Behind her, the other Xantharians, equally massive, equally armored, tensed. One of them, a scarred warrior with a missing horn and a tail flicking in agitation, took a step forward. "Human ignorance," he growled, his voice rough. "Shall I remove his tongue for the insult?" Vera didn't answer. Her grip tightened, and I wheezed, my fingers scrambling uselessly against her wrist. Then, from the shadows of the cargo bay, Mara's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Hey, Scaleface." I turned my head just enough to see my engineer storming forward, her dark braid swinging behind her, a plasma wrench gripped tight in one grease-stained hand. She didn't hesitate, just planted herself right in front of Vera, glaring up at the alien warrior like she wasn't a full foot shorter and significantly less armed. "Put him down," Mara snapped, "or I'll introduce you to my definition of a bad day." Vera's gaze flicked to Mara, then back to me. For a second, I thought she might actually laugh. Instead, something even stranger happened. Her ridges, already flushed crimson, darkened further. Korvax, the scarred Xantharian, let out a derisive snort. "Pathetic. The human whelp needs his female to fight for him." Mara's grip on the wrench tightened. "Oh, I'm not his female," she shot back. "I'm the one who keeps this rust bucket flying. And if you don't back off, I'll show you exactly how I deal with unwelcome guests." Vera finally released me, and I slumped against the wall, gasping. She didn't step back, though. Instead, she tilted her head, studying Mara with something almost like curiosity. "You are bold," she said, her voice quieter now. "For a human." Mara smirked. "And you're touchy for someone who just boarded our ship uninvited." Korvax snarled, his tail lashing. "We are here under treaty law." The human insulted our commander. Yeah, he called her cute. Big deal." Mara rolled her eyes. "You'd think a species that can rip a man in half wouldn't get so bent out of shape over a compliment." Vera's ridges pulsed again. "You do not understand," she said, her voice tight. Mara crossed her arms. "Then explain it." The silence stretched. Then, from the ship's comm, Jax's voice crackled through, tense and urgent. Guys? We've got a problem. The Xantharian fleet just locked weapons on us." I groaned. Of course they had, because I'd accidentally proposed to their commander, and now, unless we figured out a way to undo this mess, we were all about to become space dust. Chapter 3. The narrow alley reeked of rotting garbage and damp stone, the flickering torchlight casting jagged shadows against the walls. Kale pressed his back against the cold brick, his breath coming in short, controlled bursts. Beside him, Lyra adjusted the grip on her dagger, her eyes sharp as a hawk's. "You sure this is the right place?" she whispered. "Because if we die in this stinking pit, I'm haunting you for eternity." Kale shot her a sideways glance. "Wouldn't have it any other way." A low chuckle came from the darkness ahead. "Romantic. But if you two are done flirting, maybe focus on not getting us killed." Jorik grumbled, his massive axe resting on his shoulder. Lyra rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. If anyone's getting us killed, it's you and your subtlety. Last time you snuck somewhere, you knocked over an entire market stall." Jorik bristled. "That was one time, and that merchant had it coming, overpriced melons." Kale held up a hand. "Quiet. Movement up ahead." A shadow detached itself from the gloom, revealing a wiry figure wrapped in tattered robes. The man's grin was missing several teeth. "Kale, isn't it? Heard you've been making waves. The shadow hand doesn't take kindly to thieves." Kale didn't lower his sword. "And I don't take kindly to being hunted. You're their informant. Where's their hideout?" The man's grin widened. "Oh, it's not that simple. Information costs, boy."
Lyra sikhet dramatical.
"Ugh, not this again. Can we skip the part where he monologues and just stab him?" The informant's eyes flicked to her, then back to Kale. Feisty one, ain't she? Fine. The old watchtower by the docks. But you won't like what you find there. Kale tossed him a small pouch of coins. We'll see. As the informant melted back into the darkness, Jorik cracked his knuckles. Finally, I was starting to think this was gonna be another talking mission.
Lira simirket.
Don't worry, big man. You'll get your fight. The docks were eerily quiet. The only sound the lapping of waves against rotten wood. The watchtower loomed ahead, its crumbling stones covered in moss. A single torch burned at its base. Kale's grip tightened on his sword. Too easy. Jorik snorted. Since when do you complain about easy? Lyra's eyes narrowed. He's right. This smells like a trap. Before Kale could respond, the torch flickered, then went out. A chorus of metallic clicks echoed around them. From the shadows, a cold voice spoke. You should have stayed gone, Kale. Figures emerged from all sides, blades glinting in the moonlight. Kale exhaled slowly, rolling his shoulders. Well, guess we do this the hard way. Lyra flipped her dagger with a grin. My favorite way. Jorik hefted his axe, grinning like a wolf. About time. The first attacker lunged, and the night erupted into steel and blood. Chapter. For the clash of steel rang through the night as Kale twisted away from a dagger's slash, countering with a brutal elbow to his attacker's throat. The man crumpled with a choked gasp, but two more took his place. Lyra danced between blades, her dagger a silver flash in the moonlight. She kicked one assailant into another, sending them both sprawling. You know, she called over her shoulder. This would go faster if someone stopped playing with his food. Jorik roared as he cleaved through a swordsman's guard, sending the man flying into the harbor with a splash. I'm savoring the moment, he bellowed, grinning like a madman. Kale ducked under a wild swing and drove his sword through an attacker's gut. Less talking, more stabbing. A crossbow bolt whizzed past his ear, embedding itself in the watchtower's rotting wood. Kale's eyes snapped toward the shadows. A sniper perched on the roof. Lyra followed his gaze and cursed. Oh, lovely. They brought friends. Jorik yanked a dagger from his belt and hurled it upward. The sniper yelped as the blade sank into his thigh, toppling him into the water below. Still got it, he gloated. Kale didn't have time to respond. A massive figure clad in black plate armor stepped from the tower's entrance, a serrated greatsword resting on his shoulder. The remaining assassins backed away, forming a loose circle around the trio. The armored man's voice was a deep, grating rumble. Kale, the master wants your head. I'll enjoy delivering it. Lyra wiped the blood from her cheek, unimpressed. Charming. Does he always hire people who smell like a slaughterhouse? Jorik hefted his axe. Big talk for someone who's about to be shorter by a head. Kale adjusted his grip, eyes locked on the brute. Stay sharp. This one's not like the others. The armored warrior charged without another word, his great sword carving through the air like a scythe. Kale barely dodged, rolling to the side as the blade shattered the dock's planks where he'd stood. Lyra darted in, slashing at the back of the man's knee, but her dagger screeched off the armor, leaving barely a scratch. Oh, come on! Jorik swung his axe with all his strength, aiming for the warrior's side. The brute twisted at the last second, catching the blow on his pauldron. The impact sent a shockwave up Jorik's arms. Damn! He's built like a fortress. Kale feinted left, then drove his sword into a gap in the armor's armpit. The warrior snarled, backhanding him hard enough to send him skidding across the dock. Lyra's eyes widened. Kale! He spat blood, pushing himself up. I'm fine, but we need a new plan. Jorik grinned suddenly. I've got one. Before anyone could react, he grabbed a nearby barrel and hurled it at the warrior's head. The brute batted it aside, just as Lyra vaulted onto his back, driving her dagger into the visor's eye slit. The armored man howled, staggering blindly. Kale didn't hesitate. He sprinted forward and plunged his sword through the warrior's throat, twisting hard. The brute collapsed like a felled tree, the dock shuddering under his weight. Silence. Then Lyra let out a breath. Well, That was exhausting. Jorik clapped Kale on the back, nearly knocking him over. See? Teamwork. Kale winced, rubbing his ribs. Next time, less teamwork that involves me getting punched across a dock. Lyra smirked, wiping her blade clean.
No promises.
A low groan came from the watchtower's doorway. A wounded assassin, barely clinging to consciousness, pointed a trembling finger inside. You don't know what you're dealing with. Kale exchanged glances with the others. Jorik cracked his knuckles. Guess we're not done yet.
Lyra siket.
When are we ever? Kale stepped over the bodies, sword still in hand. Let's finish this. Chapter 5. The watchtower's interior was a tomb of dust and decay, the air thick with the scent of mildew and old blood. Kale's boots crunched over broken glass as he stepped inside, his sword still slick from the fight. The wounded assassin's warning echoed in his mind. Lyra nudged a rusted helmet with her toe, her dagger loose in her grip. Charming place. Really captures that abandoned death trap aesthetic. Jorik kicked open a rotting door, sending it splintering off its hinges. If I were an evil mastermind, I'd at least spring for better decor. A faint scraping sound came from above. Kale's head snapped up. We're not alone. The torches flared to life with a whoosh, revealing a dozen black-clad figures lining the walkways above, crossbows trained downward. At the far end of the room, a slender man in a silver mask lounged on a makeshift throne of crates. Kale, the masked man purred. I was starting to think you'd never show. Lyra's grip tightened on her dagger. Oh good, the dramatic reveal. I was worried we'd miss the cliches. The masked man tilted his head. And you must be the infamous Lyra. The master warned me about your tongue. Pity he didn't mention how pretty you are. Jorik snorted. If you're trying to flirt, you're worse at it than Kale. Kale shot him a glare before addressing the masked man. Enough games. Who's this master? And why does he want me dead? The man sighed as if disappointed. Straight to business? Very well. He snapped his fingers. A crossbow fired not at them but at the ceiling. A net of chains crashed down, barely missing Jorik as he lunged aside. Lyra eyed the net. Subtle. The masked man stood, drawing a slender rapier. The master doesn't take kindly to thieves, especially those who steal from him. Kale's blood ran cold. The artifact. Ah, he remembers. The man's laugh was like scraping metal. You were never meant to survive that job. A pity your friends will die for your mistake. Jorik hefted his axe. Big words for a man in stabbing distance. Kale's mind raced. They were outnumbered, trapped, but the masked man was talking. That meant he was arrogant, and arrogance could be exploited. He lowered his sword slightly. If your master wanted me dead, why send you? Why not finish it himself? The masked man paused. You think you're worthy of his attention?
Lyra simirket.
Oh, he's got you there. Guess you're just the errand boy. The man's grip on his rapier tightened. Kill them. Slowly. The crossbows leveled, then the world exploded. A deafening boom shook the tower as the far wall burst inward, showering the room with debris. Through the smoke, a massive figure strode forward, a warhammer slung over one shoulder. Jorik blinked. Is that?
Lyra grinned.
Eli, what the hell are you doing here? The bartender cracked his neck. Saving your sorry hides, apparently. The masked man recoiled. You! Eli ignored him, nodding to Kale. We need to go. Now. Kale didn't argue. As the assassins scrambled to regroup, the four bolted for the newly made exit, the masked man's enraged scream following them into the night. Lyra panted as they ran. Since when do bartenders make grand entrances? Eli's grin was fierce. You'd be surprised what I can do. Jorik laughed breathlessly. Remind me to tip better. Kale didn't look back. The game had changed, and for the first time they might just have the upper hand. Chapter 6. The kiss was brief, fierce, and over before my brain could even process what was happening. Vera's lips were surprisingly warm against mine, her clawed hands still gripping my shoulders with enough force to bruise when she pulled back. Her 4 silver eyes burned with an intensity that made my stomach flip. Not from fear this time, but something far more dangerous. Korvax's roar of outrage shook the toxic jungle around us. Treachery. You would shame our traditions for this human. Vera didn't release me. By our laws, she said, her voice carrying through the fog-laden trees. The hunt ends when the prey is claimed. He is mine now. The other Xantharians shifted uneasily, their armored tails twitching. One of them, a younger warrior with violet-tinted ridges, actually looked impressed. She's right, he muttered. The code is clear. Korvax's claws flexed. This is a mockery. That human couldn't survive a day in... Enough. Vera's voice cracked like a whip. The challenge is complete. We return to the ship. As she dragged me through the undergrowth, I finally found my voice. What the hell was that? Vera's grip tightened. Quiet, unless you want Korvax to challenge you to single combat. I shut up. Back aboard the Star Chaser, Mara took one look at us. Me disheveled and panting, Vera's ridges still flushed crimson, and burst out laughing. Oh, this just keeps getting better, she wheezed, wiping grease from her cheek with the back of her hand. So, you're engaged to an alien warlord now. Jax leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. Let me guess. Their version of playing hard to get involves attempted murder? Vera's tail lashed. This is not a joke. Could have fooled me, Mara shot back. You nearly ripped his throat out, then kissed him. That's some mixed signals right there. I groaned, rubbing my temples. Vera, just explain, please. The Xantharian warrior exhaled sharply, her claws flexing. Our courtship laws are complicated. When you called me cute before my warriors, you invoked an ancient challenge. If I rejected you publicly, my honor would be shattered. If I accepted, she trailed off, her ridges darkening further. Mara's eyebrows shot up. Wait, so you had to pretend to be into him? Not pretend. Vera's voice dropped to a growl. By our laws, the words were spoken. The hunt confirmed it. There is only one way to undo this now. Jax whistled. Let me guess. Someone's gotta die? Vera's silver eyes locked onto mine.
No.
We go before the High Council. And you? She pointed a claw at my chest. We'll tell them the truth. Mara snorted. Great plan. Hey, scary alien leaders. My dumb captain here didn't mean to propose. He's just an idiot. That'll go over real well. I swallowed hard. What happens if they don't believe me? Vera's expression didn't change. Then they will declare the bond valid. Permanently. The silence that followed was deafening. Mara's wrench clattered to the floor. Jax choked on his coffee. And me? I just stared at Vera, my mouth dry as sandpaper. Mara recovered first. Okay, new plan, she said, snatching up her wrench. We skip the council, jump to the next system, and pretend this never happened. Vera's tail twitched. The fleet will follow. Then we'll outrun them. You cannot outrun a Xantharian battle cruiser. Jax rubbed his temples. So what? We're just supposed to walk into their stronghold and hope they don't, eat him? Vera turned to me, her gaze unreadable. You will speak your truth. And I. She hesitated, something almost vulnerable flashing across her face. I will stand with you. Mara threw up her hands. Unbelievable. First you try to kill him, now you're playing bodyguard. Vera's ridges pulsed blue. Amusement? You humans are strange creatures. So quick to fight, yet so slow to understand. She turned toward the exit, her armor glinting in the ship's harsh lighting. We leave in 1 hour. Prepare yourself, human. The council does not suffer fools lightly. As the door hissed shut behind her, Mara whistled low. Well, Cap, looks like you're getting married. I sank into the nearest chair, my head in my hands. There's gotta be another way. Jax clapped me on the shoulder. Hey, look on the bright side. If you survive this, you'll be the first human in history to date an alien warlord. Mara grinned. And if you don't? At least you died memorable. I groaned. Remind me again why I keep you two around? Because, Mara said, tossing me a plasma pistol. Who else is gonna save your dumb ass from an interstellar wedding? Chapter 7. The hidden chamber beneath the city pulsed with an eerie blue glow, the stolen artifact radiating power from its pedestal at the center of the room. Kale's fingers hovered over its surface, the air crackling with energy. Across from him, the master, no longer hidden in shadows, stood with his blade drawn, his silver mask cracked from their last clash. You don't understand what you're meddling with, boy, the master hissed. That artifact was never meant for the likes of you. Lyra wiped blood from her split lip, her dagger still raised. Funny, he says that like we're supposed to care. Jorik, leaning heavily on his axe, barked a laugh. Yeah, we've heard the villain speech before. Gets old after the third time. Eli, his warhammer streaked with grime, stepped forward. Enough talk. This ends now. The master's laugh was hollow. Oh, it will. He lunged not at Kale but at the artifact. Kale barely intercepted him, their blades locking in a shower of sparks. Lyra now. She didn't hesitate. With a flick of her wrist, her dagger flew straight for the master's throat. He twisted at the last second, but the blade still grazed his shoulder, drawing blood. You pest, he snarled. Jorik seized the opening. With a roar, he swung his axe in a devastating arc. The master blocked, but the force sent him stumbling back, right into Eli's waiting hammer. The impact sent him crashing into the wall, his mask shattering completely. Kale didn't give him a chance to recover. He drove his sword forward, and the master caught it barehanded, blood dripping between his fingers. His unveiled face was gaunt, his eyes burning with fury. You insolent brat! A pulse of dark energy erupted from him, throwing everyone back. The artifact flared violently, its light turning crimson. The ground trembled as cracks spiderwebbed across the chamber's ceiling. Lyra pushed herself up, coughing. Okay, that's new. Eli's eyes widened. He's tapping into the artifact's power. If he fully bonds with it, Kale knew. He'd seen what the artifact could do in the wrong hands. Gritting his teeth, he forced himself to his feet. Then we stop him before that happens. The master rose, his body wreathed in swirling shadows. Fools! You cannot stop what's already begun. Jorik spat. Yeah, heard that one before too. Kale met Lyra's gaze, then Eli's and Jorik's. A silent understanding passed between them. They attacked as one. Lyra darted in first, her movements a blur as she slashed at the master's legs, forcing him to pivot. Eli's hammer came down like thunder, driving him to his knees. Jorik's axe followed, knocking the artifact from his grasp. And Kale, he plunged his sword straight through the master's chest. The man gasped, his dark energy flickering like a dying flame. You don't know what you've done. Kale twisted the blade. I do. I ended you. The master's body went limp. Silence. Then the artifact's glow dimmed, its power fading. The tremors stopped. Lyra let out a slow breath. Well, that was dramatic. Jorik nudged the master's body with his boot. Think he'll stay dead this time? Eli grunted. Only one way to be sure. He lifted his hammer. Kale held up a hand. Wait. He knelt, picking up the now dormant artifact. We need to destroy this. Permanently. Lyra arched a brow. And how do we do that? A voice echoed from the chamber's entrance. I might be able to help with that. They turned. A hooded figure stepped into the light, pulling back its hood to reveal a face strikingly similar to Kale's. Kale's blood turned to ice. Eric? His brother smiled grimly. Long time no see, little brother. Jorik blinked. Wait, you have a brother?
Lyra groanet.
Oh, this just keeps getting better. Kale stared, his grip tightening on the artifact. The fight was over, but the story, it was just beginning. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.